जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा। जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। ओ जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। ओ यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुनातीरावनचारी। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Today we are going to start from the pranam prayers. The Om Ajnanatimrandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everyone for tonight's class on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, devotional service. First first we will recite the whole chapter, both Sanskrit and English. Initially we'll start with the the Sanskrit first, and then we'll recite the English version. Afterwards we'll go through the chapter. Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, devotional service. Arjuna uvacha evam satata yukta ye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Sri Bhagavan uvacha maya vesya mano ye mam nityayukta upasate sraddhaya paryopetas te me yukta tamamataha. ये त्वक्षरम् अनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्रकम् अचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थम् अचलं ध्रुवम् सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः क्लेशो अधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषाम् अहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम् मय्येव मन आधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अतोऽद्धं न संशयः अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो माम् इच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय अभ्यासेऽपि असमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थम् अपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिम् अवाप्स्यसि अथैतद् अपि असक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगम् आश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान् श्रेयो हि ज्ञानम् अभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागाच्छान्तिरनन्तरम् अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः कर्ण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखः सुखक्षमी सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पिता मनोबुद्धिर्यो मद्भक्तः समे प्रियः यस्मान्नोद्विजते लोको लोकान्नोद्विजते च यः हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैर्मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः अनपेक्षा शुचिर्दक्षा उदासीनो गतव्रतः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः समे प्रियः यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति शुभाशुभपरित्यागी भक्तिमान् यः समे प्रियः समः शत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयोः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु समसङ्गविवर्जितः तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेतः स्थिरमतिर्भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः एतु धर्मामृतम् इदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धाना मत्परमा भक्तास्ते ते मे प्रियाः। ओम तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे भक्तियोगो नाम 12. Now we are going to read the translations in English. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way develop a desire to attain me. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me you will come to the perfect stage. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation one can attain peace of mind. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. He by whom no one is put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. My devotee, who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Let's see. So in this chapter, now we are going to go through some few purports and discuss the points. I'm going to skip the first few purports, but we'll just go through it. I'm going to just speak about them, just the summary, and then we'll read the later purports. Initially, in this chapter, Arjuna is asking Krishna about the people who are, he's putting a question, who are more perfect, those who are engaged in impersonal Brahman meditation, or those who worship the personal conception of the absolute truth. And here Krishna clearly answers that those who worship him with faith are considered by Krishna, are considered by him, that is Krishna, are most perfect. And he also says that if someone wants to pursue the path of impersonal meditation and impersonal philosophy, for him to make progress in the discipline is very, very difficult. Vishwanath Prabhu, can you say why? And on the microphone.
Because it's not practical, like we don't have activities and we can't conceive a form, and we are always used to the form. So without having substantial things to do, it is always difficult. Even with having substantial things to do, it is so difficult, and if we don't have anything to do, it's so even more difficult.
That's correct, a good point, yes. Yeah, we are used to some activity, form and activities. And if we simply have to sit and meditate on something which doesn't have those characteristics, it's very, very difficult. And the second point is that when we worship Krishna, when we serve him, he also reciprocates accordingly, he also helps us. But those who are pursuing the path of impersonal meditation, for them they are pretty much on their own. There also Krishna reciprocates, but they are mostly on their own. They have to achieve the infinite by their own effort, and achieving infinite with a finite effort is very, very, very difficult. We need the mercy of the infinite to be able to achieve infinite. Okay, good. So let's read the purports from the verses 6 and 7 onwards. Just read the translation. Can you do that? Just read the translation first, and then read the purport, and then as we go through, we'll discuss.
But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Purport. It is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from the material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to Him. His duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve Him. One should work only for Krishna. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction, just as Arjuna did in the battle of Kurukshetra. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotee to the personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord herein promises that without delay He will deliver a pure devotee, thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. Those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer the soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process, and others take the opportunity in various ways, but as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord Himself takes him. The devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. In the Varaha Purana, this verse appears. Nayami paramam sthanam achir adhikatim vina baruda skandam aropya yatecham anivarita. The purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by Supreme Lord Himself. He clearly states here that He Himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. Similarly, a devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to other planets. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by his great mercy, comes at once, riding on his bird carrier Garuda, and at once delivers the devotee from the material existence. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks him up from the water, then he is easily rescued. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from this material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer the process of devotional service to all other paths. In the Narayaniya, this is confirmed as follows. Yavai sadhana sampatti purushartha chatustaye taya vina tad apnoti naranarayanarshaya. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different process of fruitive activity or cultivating knowledge by mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifices, charities, etc. That is the specific benediction of devotional service.
Okay, just let's pause here for a little while. First of all, welcome both of you here. Are you coming here for the first time or you come here? Okay. Okay. You are coming to the Mountain View Temple or were you coming to the Bascom Temple also before? No, the temple and the Bascom moved to this place. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. What are your names? Shaunak. And your name? Malini? Milani. Welcome both of you, Milani and Shaunak. Shaunak. Okay, Shaunak Rishi. Great. Okay. Yeah, today we are talking on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, devotion service. We here initially, Arjuna puts to Krishna this question, which path is better, in pursuing the path of impersonal meditation or pursuing the pursuing the path of personal worship of the Lord. And Krishna clearly states that his personal worship is actually a lot better than pursuing the path of impersonal meditation. He also says that those who follow the path of, for those who are embodied, the conditioned living beings, following the path of impersonal meditation is very, very troublesome because we are all used to forms and activities in this world. And if we have to meditate on something which is formless and no activity, it's very difficult for us. And also, we cannot, if we worship Krishna, Krishna also reciprocates with us. He also gives something he personally helps. But if we go through the path of impersonal meditation, that help is not going to be coming. So we have to depend on our own effort, which is very, very difficult. And again, in this verse which we have just read the purports for, he is saying clearly that you just fix your mind on me and engage in my devotion service, and then I will deliver you quickly from the ocean of birth and death. How do you engage you? How do you? What are the some ways in which we can fix our mind on Krishna? Yeah.
Whatever activities we do, we can always chant. At the same time, we can chant Hare Krishna, and we can devote ourselves.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, that's a good point. And also, we also, for many persons, especially for the ones who are new, chanting could be a difficult thing to do. What are the things that they can do? to engage their mind on Krishna? I mean, somehow, how can they connect the activities that they do with Krishna? Can you say something? Okay. For example, you can. We are all used to work, and we just do some work, and we can connect that work with Krishna. For example, I'm just giving you a few examples. You can come to the temple and help in cooking, for example, and because we are used to work anyway, and that we can do easily. In that way, our work is connected with Krishna. Or you can help with the cleaning or other activities. In that way, and our work gets connected to Krishna. That is the starting. Or we can hear about Krishna, like what we are doing now. So this is also connected to Krishna. And see, the perfection of the life is somehow or other we have to make our schedule in such a way that all the activities that we do in the whole day is connected to Krishna somehow or other. If we are able to do that, then it's very good. See, if we do that, then our mind gets attached to Krishna. And if our mind is attached to Krishna, then Krishna himself becomes the quick deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. We are also working in some companies, for example, and we can also donate some of the monies, donate or use some of the monies that we earn in activities that are connected with Krishna. That is another way of engaging the work that we do for companies in Krishna's service. In that way, that also gets transcendentalized, that work. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually Rupa Goswami is one of our previous acharyas. He says he summarized all the devotional activities into 64 categories, 64 items for devotional service, and then he further picked up 5 out of them as most important. And this is coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He told Rupa Goswami that these 5 are most important, and Rupa Goswami has put it in a book called Nectar of Devotion. And those 5 activities which are most important are, let's see if I can recall them correctly. One is chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that is chanting the name of God. The second one is reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That is very important, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. The third one is association with the devotees. The fourth one is living in a holy dham. Living in a holy dham. And our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada said that all our temples are also Vrindavan. So if you are in the temple, that is considered as you are living in a holy dham. At least for the duration you are here. What is the fifth one, Vishwanath Prabhu? Let's see. Huh? No. Deity worship. Is it deity worship? Yeah, I think the deity worship. That's the fifth one, worshipping the deity. These 5 are the most important items. And if someone is connected to any of these items, even a little, even by a little bit, he can make progress very fast, even a little bit. So it's important. Association with devotees is important, and living in a holy dham is important. And these days, all the holy dham, because of Prabhupada's mercy, we have holy dhams all over the world. Yeah. Once in New Vrindavan, Prabhupada was speaking. I'm assuming that you are familiar with Prabhupada. Are you? Okay, he was speaking. And he said that this New Vrindavan is non-different from the Vrindavan. And everyone was excited to know that. And then immediately he said that all our temples are non-different from Vrindavan. Okay. So what about if we do the devotional service activities? What about let's say we work hard in this world for money and other things, and by doing that we get money. But what about how do you expect to get money when you are working for when you are doing devotion service? And that is also answered in the purport that we have just read, which is that one who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from all other yogic processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifices, charities, etc. This is a specific benediction of devotional service. And in Bhagavad Gita, in some other place, Krishna also says that one who worships him is not bereft of the benefits derived from performing charities, doing rituals, doing sacrifices. All the benefits are included in the devotion service, because after all, Krishna is the supreme controller of everything. And when you worship him, they don't lack anything. He supplies all their necessities and more. Whatever they need, those are supplied by Krishna directly. Anyone has any more comments? Then otherwise we can continue. And we can give it to Shaunak Prabhu. He will read.
Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily, but this destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 18th chapter. Sarva dharman paritchatya mam ekam saranam vraja aham tam sarva papevyo moksa asmi ma sucha. One should give up all other process of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. That will enable one to reach the highest perfection of life. There is no need for one to consider the sinful actions of his past life, because the Supreme Lord fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should sinful actions of his past life, because that one is covered, I can't see. Anyway, fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should not futilely try to deliver himself in spiritual realization. Let everyone take shelter of the Supreme Omnipotent Godhead Krishna. That is the highest perfection of life. BG 12.8.
Okay, so let's pause here for a few moments. Here, there is no point in we making so many plans and trying to deliver ourselves with our own intelligence. We will never be successful in that way. Just better to follow the scriptures, just stating that just worship him and he will deliver you from all your problems of life. If you just follow that, then we can attain success very easily. On the other hand, if we are trying to deliver ourselves through various means or by various insurances, for example, how many insurances we can buy to protect ourselves? But if you are engaged in devotional service, actually that is like an insurance. That is the highest insurance. That's the highest insurance you can ever get, because you are insured from all problems of life for good.
Which said, chant Hare Krishna, afterlife insurance. Afterlife insurance.
Actually, that is chanting Hare Krishna. This is an insurance for the current life also. Because once you are engaged in pure devotional service, there is a difference between devotional service and pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means that in devotional service, one may be worshipping God for a certain benefit. If he is worshipping for a certain benefit, then it's not called pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means he is worshipping Krishna just to serve him, and he is not expecting anything back from him. And if you are actually if you are doing that, then even the karma of the present life also gets vanished because of the strength of the devotional service. And that means whatever problems, whatever difficulties or anything, that you are destined for this life, even those also gets destroyed by pure devotional service. But with other processes, they cannot do that. They cannot destroy the like if you are engaged in, for example, in other processes, they may be able to help you to go into much better life starting from the next life onwards. But they cannot destroy the conditions of the current life because they are already destined. So that's the benefit of pure devotion service.
I have a question. Is it okay?
Yes, yeah. We can get another microphone here. Yeah.
Because when you say difficulties in this life are destroyed, are you, with pure devotional service, can you take that as, according to the mundane world, they were actually destroyed? Or is it because you've been transformed and you have a transcendental view of everything, and so they're destroyed? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, they are actually destroyed.
Okay, so then you have no obstacles. Or is it that you don't see any, you don't view anything as an obstacle anymore? Do you know what I'm saying? So and there are like from a mundane, another person that's not a devotee would see it as obstacles or difficulties, but because you've been your vision is transformed, and you have more of a transcendental view of life, then there are no obstacles. Do you see what I'm saying?
What you are saying is also true, but pure devotion service destroys all the karma also. There are two types of karmas. One is called prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma means the karma that is actually the results that are intended for this life, which is already fixed, and no one can change it. That's called prarabdha karma. But one who is engaged in pure devotion service, even prarabdha karma is also destroyed. That means whatever problems or whatever that was set aside for you for your future, that also gets destroyed.
So is that from Krishna's grace that there is destroyed?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
And this was explained by Rupa Goswami in his book called Nectar of Devotion. There are 6 characteristics of the pure devotion service. One of them is that it destroys all the karma, not only the future, including the prarabdha karma also, that is for the present life. That also gets destroyed. Then the question may be raised, then how come pure devotees suffer? That suffering is different from the suffering of the persons who are for whose suffering is coming from their karma. This suffering comes because of the mercy of Krishna, because once you surrender to Krishna, he takes interest in purifying us, and to purify he may give some troubles, but that is not coming from karma.
Okay. So as you're doing more devotional service, you'll be able to tell the difference between, or as devotees, is it automatically, can we assume that it's automatically coming from Krishna, that we've already surpassed?
If you are a pure devotee, then no, there is no question of any of your past karma acting on you. It's completely destroyed if you are a pure devotee. But if you are not pure, you are trying to be a pure devotee but not pure, that means there is some mix there at that time. So you can expect some karma, but once you become a completely pure devotee, then the karma cannot act at that time.
Okay, so if there are difficulties or obstacles, then that's also from the grace of Krishna, like a gift.
Yes.
Or a trial. Is it a test? Or is it just more purification?
It is for our purification.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Now we will, anyone has any questions? Otherwise we'll go to the next verse. And Shaunik Prabhu, you can continue reading.
So, it says, just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me, always without a doubt. One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord, so there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane, he lives in Krishna. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts this eatables and the devotee becomes Krishnacized by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so, although this is a process recommended in Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures.
So that is the benefit of prasadam. Because when someone is honoring the prasadam, he doesn't know, he may not understand how it's actually working. Just like when we take medicine, we don't understand how the medicine works, but the medicine has its effect. Similarly, this prasadam also has its effect. Not only prasadam, any food we take, any cooked food we take, it has its effect on us. The consciousness of the person who prepare that food, not only the cooking, everything that goes on into the cooking, the persons who are purchasing, who are handling all the food, that gets into our consciousness in a subtle form. So when we eat the Krishna, the prasadam of Krishna, that has the effect of purifying our consciousness. So it's important, and especially for those who are somewhat who do not want to be Krishna, who are against the Krishna, and who is always inimical to Krishna. For them, this is a good, because they if you just give them prasadam, generally they accept it because it's just something for eating. If you tell them philosophy, they don't accept the prasadam, they accept. So if we keep giving them prasadam, after some time their minds will change. And we have some examples already in the moment of ISKCON, how people changed over a period of time just by the fact that they were eating prasadam.
I was just had an example for, if you have ever eaten food from somebody who cooked when they were angry or upset, you can actually get sick from eating that food. So,
good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And prasad is wonderful too.
Yes.
So I have just another example. I have someone at school who's, she's not at all, she's never been to the temple or anything. And I started taking from a little morning prasad from Mangalarati, and I just give her like one little round ball or a few things, and she asks me for it, and I explained a little bit about this. It's been on the altar. I don't get into the details, but it's been purified and spiritualized, and it's been on the altar. And she just got diagnosed with a serious illness, and she's very young. And but she every now in the morning she's kind of looking forward to it, and she thinks it's delicious. So I can see, even in her, at first she didn't even want it. I didn't talk to her about the temple or anything because she wasn't open to it, and now she's open to it from having had prasad over a couple of weeks.
Good point. Yes. Yeah. That's why Prabhupada always insisted that everyone who comes to the temple should get some prasadam. He should not go without prasadam.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll go to the next one. Milan, do you want to read? Okay, you can read. Natalie Mataji. Verse number 9. Just read the translation and purport.
Okay. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, If you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Purport. In this verse, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by transcendental love, and the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Personality by transcendental love. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there's no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. This love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart, and there, love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple and offer prayers and chant Hare Krishna, then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasadam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of love of God, and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of a spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. Hare Krishna.
Yes, so this is, there are two types of devotional services. One is devotional service in practice, that is for people like us who have not, who are just the beginners. We have to follow that kind of devotional service. There are rules and regulations, and there are prescribed methods. We follow those prescribed methods and the rules and regulations. This is called devotional service in practice. And also one who gets after one who is advances and further advances, once he goes to a certain stage, he will develop, he or she will develop spontaneous attachment for Krishna, God. Once he has spontaneous attachment, it's called that kind of devotional service is called Raga Bhakti, because at that platform he does his devotional service just out of love, without just the love predominates his mood of devotional service. But in the beginning, we may not have much love, but we just do it because that's the method prescribed for us. And so that's what Krishna is recommending. In the first verse, in the verse that is prior to this verse, Krishna said that just live in me always, just think of me always, and desire. But in this verse, he is saying that if you are not able to do it, then practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, just to develop a desire to attain him. Hare Krishna, welcome to the temple. Yeah, there is some prasadam over here. Please help yourself. Any other points, Vishwanath Prabhu? Okay. How do you progress? What is the when we are doing the devotion service, one is someone may be doing less work in terms of someone may seemingly be putting less effort, and someone may be putting more effort, but or someone may be spending just some little time only in so-called devotional service, and some other person may be spending a lot of time in devotional service activities. But we may see that person who is putting a lot of hours, he may not be progressing. He may not be progressing faster than the one who is actually putting less, less hours. But what is the thing that is actually acting the factor here for quick progress in devotional service?
For me personally, I think it's the grace of Krishna.
Okay.
And well, you come in with a certain amount of punya, right? But you could put forth a lot of effort and don't really see the fruits, even though you could be changing. You know what I'm saying? You could be developing the love, and maybe you're not aware of it. You're getting purified. But also, I think ultimately it's the grace of Krishna that the development.
But how do you get
breakthrough.
grace of Krishna?
Sincerity and just love. It just wells up in the heart and, for no reason. So.
Correct. Vishwanath Prabhu, you have some point?
Attitude of the follower.
Yeah, attitude, yeah. So that's very powerful. Because attitude is very, very important. Someone said that attitude determines your altitude. Because if someone may be spending a lot of hours in devotional service activities, but if his attitude is not right, he might be thinking that he is engaged in devotional service, but he is probably working for his own benefit or from other things. For example, someone might be doing all the work just for some recognition or just to get some reputation from others. Someone may be spending all his time or many hours just to be able to exercise his tendency to control others. Because even in devotional service activities, you can become a controller in the sense that you may be working with several devotees and you are given certain position and then you are just controlling them. And you may get caught up in that. And you are just, at that time, you are just working just to exercise your tendency to control rather than to actually worship Krishna. And these are all whereas, some other person, he may be just spending only very little time, but he doesn't have any ulterior motives. He just purely serving Krishna, and then other time he is doing whatever he is doing. So, but the attitude of the person who determines really how fast he is advancing in the devotional service. It is said that just by chanting once the name of Krishna, you can actually attain him. And at other places it is said that even if you are chanting Hare Krishna continuously for millions of lives, you still cannot attain him. Because what is the difference? It is just the attitude difference is the attitude. And after all, everyone has got 24 hours of time. And one person he is using the 24 hours in one way, other person is using the 24 in different way. But the advancement that one makes, one person makes could be very much high as compared to the advancement the other person may be making. All are determined by our attitude here. So it's difficult. It's good to cultivate the correct attitude. But how do we cultivate the good attitude?
When you say attitude, though, you're meaning sincerity. Correct?
Sincerity, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So you're asking, how do you become sincere?
No, yeah. How do you become? Let's say attitude, because although there is they are close. Attitude is let's use the word attitude, because someone might be thinking he's sincere, but although he may not be working with the correct attitude. When the attitude is not right, what happens is the result that is going to come out of is an offense, really.
Ego is involved.
Yeah. Offenses will come and they block our progress. Mm-hmm. And that becomes a very big impediment to our progress. But how can we develop proper attitude?
Well, have a spiritual master, number
Okay.
one. Surround yourself with pure devotees if you can,
Mhm.
and if not, then kind of the medium, in the middle devotees.
Yeah.
Avoid having friends that are non-devotees,
Mhm.
non-devotee associations,
Mhm.
and try to Krishnaize everything in your life.
Mhm.
So if you come, come to the temple quite
Mhm.
often, or read Srimad Bhagavatam and the Gita and other books,
Mhm.
Srila Prabhupada's books and things. So,
It's a good point. But my question is more on, this question is more on among devotees whom we are associating with. How can we work in such a way that we make quicker progress?
to be humble.
Yeah.
Number one, with humility. So if a senior devotee asks you to do something
Mhm.
or corrects you, you accept it.
Mhm.
And I think using discernment, you have to be careful who you associate with.
Yeah.
So, and that comes from your meditation,
Yeah.
your japa. Your
Correct.
mind gets more
Yes.
discernment, so you can,
That's correct.
and your intuition becomes more honed. So you can decide. It's not a decision. It's more of it's on a different level. But then you know who is the true, who is sincere, and who's
Correct, yeah.
humble, and then you can take instruction
Mm.
and correction from not just your spiritual master, your guru, but also other devotees.
Correct. Yes. Yes. You have some points.
Without ulterior motives, like if we are coming to temple to get something, then we are not developing proper attitude.
Correct. Yeah. So normally in an atmosphere, do you have something to say?
I was actually thinking, as you said before, that the sincerity level for both the person is same, but when it comes like to distinguish between bad and good attitude, it's like, as far as I would say that a person who is in advanced stage but still have a beginner's like mind and can welcome any decision, has a good attitude. Then the person who is stubborn and headstrong, that okay, I know everything, has a bad attitude, but at the same point, both are sincere. That's what I would say.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, having the beginner's mentality is very, very important. Because when someone comes to any field as a beginner, initially he absorbs a lot. He makes progress a lot. He progresses a lot because he has that mentality, beginner's mentality. But after some time, it gets saturated. It's not saturated, I would say. The progress becomes very, very slow. That is because the mentality changed.
That's when I think that's when the ego gets involved.
Yeah,
because
ego gets involved.
Even in Zen practice, there's a famous book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, that even if you've been doing Zazen for 50, 60 years, you are to practice that beginner's mind, and it's very true.
Correct,
and I
yeah.
think it applies, for our practice as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but the key thing here is association. Association is very important, and association, if you want to make progress quickly, then you have to associate with those devotees who are making the progress quickly. You have to be somewhat choosy among the devotees, because you have to determine what you want really. We are a product of our association. Actually, we are our association. We become our association. Just like a drunkard, how does one person become a drunkard? He just engages with other persons and he becomes like that. And similarly, who we associate with, we become that after some time. Yeah, something? Okay. We can read from the next verse, the 10th verse. Vishwanath Prabhu, go ahead.
If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. Purport. One who is not even able to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfectional stage by working for Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness and they require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use and some labor and some organizations to expand. So the same is required in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or temple for propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activity, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of his activities, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to the higher state of love of God, whereupon one becomes perfect.
So this is here the Krishna is giving various ways to approach him. Initially he started with something, then he says, if you cannot do that, then do this. Now he is saying, if you are not able to do even that, then do this, which is just engage in some work, right? Try to work, engage in some kind of work for me. And that is more practical for the people of this age, because that people can do in general. And people can engage in some kind of work for Krishna. They can sacrifice some percentage of their income for the service of Krishna. They can do all these things. In general, our mind follows the money. Our mind follows the money. Money. Wherever the money is going, that's where our mind also goes. And if your money is, for example, going for let's say sense gratification related activities, that's where your mind is also going. But if your money is going for activities related to Krishna, then your mind also goes there naturally, because your mind follows the money. So these are some of the practical ways to engage ourselves in Krishna conscious related activities. And Krishna is very, very he doesn't forget what even if you do a little service for him, he doesn't forget it. He has that gratitude. So if you are doing these things, Krishna knows that this person has done these things for me. So he will have that gratitude. And another thing is that everyone has got 24 hours of time, and everyone has got so much money, and irrespective of what works you do, the time passes anyway, and irrespective of where you want to put money, ultimately you will not have any money. You will not be able to take your money with you in the end. All the money you have to leave behind. So it's we can engage part of our income and part of our activities that we do, daily activities, in the service of Krishna, and that helps us to rise our level, to rise them to rise us to Krishna consciousness activities. And again, the attitude has to be right. We should know why we are doing it. For example, even the people who are demoniac, they also give charity, but their purpose, their attitude is that they know that by giving money, they can get even more in future, because that's the way it works. And by that, they have plans for sense gratification. They have figured out the equation. So such kind of mentality is not going to help. We just have to do whatever we are doing simply to please Krishna. There should be no other ulterior motive here. With that motivation, we should do.
I have a question on that. So, concerning donations, so most donations then should be anonymous, correct? So that it doesn't feed the person's ego.
It depends on the...
Because there are few people, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, it should be okay, but most people are still attached to
Mm-hmm.
recognition or
Mm-hmm.
having their name on something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So to counteract that,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't
Yeah.
anonymous donations be...
It helps to be anonymous for that person to be really be anonymous, and not to crave for getting some recognition or some name because of the charity. Because by becoming charity, also by doing charity, if you are just looking for some name, and that can also become the cause of that person going down in devotional service. All those factors are there. So he has to figure out actually, what is the intention there? Why he's for every work we do, we have to ask why are we doing it. And but sometimes we may give charity, and we may want our name to be published. That is not for, it depends upon what is working behind that person, because he may be doing it just to encourage others. Because if everyone is doing it silently, then no one knows and no one gets any encouragement out of it. That even this can be done. So some activities they have to show really to others, so that they can also learn from it. Yeah, so it gets down to the attitude, or what is behind, what is the motivation behind. Shall we go to the next verse? Okay. You are going to read, Prabhuji?
12th chapter, 11th verse. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up all results of your work, and try to be self-situated. Purport. It may be that one is unable even to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness because of social, familial or religious considerations, or because of some other impediments. If one attaches himself directly to the activities of Krishna consciousness, there may be objections from family members or so many other difficulties. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated results of his activities to some good cause. Such procedures are described in the Vedic rules. There are many descriptions of sacrifices and special functions of punya, a special work in which results of one's previous actions may be applied. Thus, one may gradually become elevated to the state of knowledge. It is also found that when one who is not even interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, he gives up the hard-earned results of his activities. That is also recommended here, because by the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually. And in that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna consciousness. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any other experience, because Krishna consciousness itself can purify one's mind. But if there are impediments to accepting Krishna consciousness, one may try to give up the results of his actions. In that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice of one's country, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted so that someday one may come to the stage of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 18:46, we find it is stated, Yatha pravrattir bhutanam. If one decides to sacrifice for the Supreme Cause, even if he does not know that the Supreme Cause is Krishna, he will come gradually to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Cause by sacrificial method.
Here again, Krishna is saying, if you are unwilling to give money for me, for example, then at least give for some good cause. Don't hold on. Because all of us are attached to, are very much attached to the body and positions in relationship with the body. And that is the cause of our bondage. And then it puts us perpetually in bondage. But if you are giving up the results of your work, then it helps us to understand, this. It helps us to somewhat get relief from the self-centric idea that everything this is mine and this is yours. Everyone has this concept: this is mine and this is yours. But if one is able to give some results of your work to others, then at least he has some idea that this is everything is not mine. I intend some part of it to others. As long as we have this is mine and that is yours, that in Krishna, in some other chapter, he says that is a demonic mentality. They have this idea that this is mine and that is yours. So this is the next step here. If you are not able to do, at least give money to Krishna. Krishna, at least give it for some good cause, the results of your work. And there are many people in general these days who are very much averse to Krishna, but they do give money for some good cause. By doing that, gradually their pious credits will go up, and someday they will get an opportunity to be in Krishna consciousness. Any other points? Prabhuji, can you read from the next verse? Yes, yeah. The 12th translation followed by the purport.
Translation. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation one can attain peace of mind. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As mentioned in the previous verses, there are two kinds of devotion service: the way of regulative principles and the way of full attachment in love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those who are actually not able to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, it is better to cultivate knowledge, because by knowledge one can be able to understand his real position. Gradually, knowledge will develop to the point of meditation. By meditation, one can be able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by a gradual process. In the cultivation of knowledge, there are processes which make one understand that one himself is the Supreme. And that sort of meditation is preferred if one is unable to engage in devotional service. If one is not able to meditate in such a way, then there are prescribed duties as enjoined in the Vedic literature for the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, which we shall find in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But in all cases, one should give up the result or fruits of labor. This means to employ the result of karma for some good cause. In summary, To reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal, there are two processes. One process is by gradual development, and the other process is direct. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the direct method, and the other method involves renouncing the fruits of one's activities. Then one can come to the stage of knowledge, then to the stage of meditation, then I don't know.
Next slide, please.
Next, please. Then one can come to the stage of knowledge, then to the stage of meditation, then to the stage of understanding the super soul, and then to the stage of Supreme Personality of Godhead. One may take either the step-by-step process or the direct path. The direct process is not possible for everyone. Therefore, the indirect process is also good. It is, however, to be understood that the indirect process is not recommended for Arjuna because he is already at the stage of loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. It is for others who are not at this stage. For them, the gradual process of renunciation, knowledge, meditation, and realization of the Supreme, Super Soul and Brahman should be followed. But as far as the Bhagavad Gita is concerned, it is a direct method that is stressed. Everyone is advised to take the direct method and surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Thank you.
Anyone has got any comments on this verse?
I feel Krishna is so liberal that, one or the other way, at least here, at the end of the day, at least we have to go back to Krishna. That means Krishna is looking for at least somehow you come back here. So, and I feel unless you come to the stage of goodness, you cannot understand the Lord. So it's a process in the people who are in the ignorance, who are in the passion. It takes, it's giving the process that at least if you're not able to do this, otherwise do this and do this. There are certain processes giving, so at least somehow come to the stage of goodness. So these are the process. If not, the direct method is the important, but if not, at least you can go into the other processes. But in this age, if for Arjuna he is talking about, I feel that is 5,000 years ago, and when the situations or circumstances are favorable, at least he would have taken some other process. But Krishna is, Arjuna is, of course, is already supreme, is a devotee of the Lord. But for us in the age of Kali, no matter what, it's everything is still disturbing. We can take up that process, but we lead up in something else. So better take the direct process, and then, because that's the only way, right? That's the only in the age of Kali. When the circumstances were favorable, it's not possible. How about now? Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult. So better take the direct process instead of confusing ourselves and getting somewhere else.
Correct, yes. And also, go on.
Well, I agree, but I also think, like for example, as a pure devotee, to have equanimity, your mind is always equanimous. And I think in the Kali Yuga stage, actually the meditation and the process, the gradual process of calming the mind and different techniques and et cetera, combined with the devotional service, mm-hmm. can actually be a little faster, in a sense. Whereas, for example, somebody who doesn't have any background mm-hmm. and simply, chants, I know the process will eventually purify, mm-hmm. but it's just based on, knowing people and experience, then something happens and the mind loses its equanimity and the waves, come back. So I think it's maybe a combination depending on the person. It depends. I think the spiritual master has to have would have insight also. And yes, chanting, but also you know, telling the person you can do this to help
those are
purify also.
good. What you have is good point, but those are actually not really. I mean, just by engaging in devotional service, also we can get the so-called meditation and all those things. For example, if one comes, one who is doing devotional service and is just engaged in just say cleaning the temple, and that is also some kind of meditation, right? And he is doing some work for Krishna, and those are easy for anyone to do, and that is also a kind of meditation. And those are, if we combine our chanting with some service, that becomes really powerful.
Okay,
Combination.
You're kind of saying the same, what I was pointing to.
Yes, yeah.
That not just the japa, but also doing something else that will help. And that usually, if you don't know, then the spiritual master can probably direct, because everybody's personality
Yes.
and their past lives and everything has a different requirement, you have different vrittis, and you know, so the insight from the spiritual master, or sometimes through your own meditations, there, you know, you can couple it with something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, something? Okay. Anyone has got any more points here? And then otherwise we'll move to the next verse. So until now, Krishna is talking about different, he's talking about the ways for different peoples to ultimately reach him. But before we go to the next verse, I also want to say that for those who are following the path of impersonal meditation, for example, it's first of all difficult, but even after he attains success, after a very long period and after having gone through many lifetimes of practice, still the position is not secure. So that is a problem. That's a big problem. So he may attain success, but even after attaining success, he won't be able to stay in that position. Again he will fall down, because ultimately he thinks that he has attained success in terms of merging with Krishna, but because there is no activity there, and he won't be able to stay in that position forever. So at some point again he will fall down, and then after falling down again the activity has to go on. And also, having practiced that kind of path for a very long time, it will be very difficult for him to give up that path, because he has practiced it for a long time. So going through the path of impersonal meditation is troublesome at the beginning and is also troublesome at the end. So it's better to choose the direct path of Krishna consciousness. And we see also, even in ISKCON, for example, that people have progressed very quickly by adopting the process of the direct path. But those who have taken the indirect path, they don't seem to make any progress. It's just they just roam around in mental concoctions and they get lost. Prabhuji, can you read the verses?
Bhagavad Gita 12, 13 and 14. Translation. One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal to both happiness and who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Purport. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone. Nor does the devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks, this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past misdeeds, so it is better to suffer than to protest. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-8, it is stated, Tatte nukampam su samishamano bhunjana evatma kritam pipakam. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I am suffering now. So it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I am just getting a little by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is always calm, quiet, and patient despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is always kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmana means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and trouble pertaining to the body because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body. Therefore, he is freed from the conception of false ego and is equipoised in happiness and distress. He is tolerant and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with great difficulty. Therefore, he is always joyful. He is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master, and because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false arguments because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is full conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All these qualifications enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities and full Krishna consciousness.
In this verse and also the subsequent next few verses, Krishna talks about some of the qualities which are very, very dear to him. But a question may be raised, how can we develop those qualities? It's answered in some places, in some other places. Out of all the qualities that we see as good qualities, if we are trying to develop them separately, it becomes very, very difficult. But one important quality that we must have is constant and unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. If we have that one quality, and on the strength of that quality, all other qualities will also develop. It is stated that one who is a devotee of Krishna has all the qualities of the demigods, and one who is not a devotee of Krishna has no good qualities at all. So that statement may sound like a very, it may not. Those who are not devoted to the God, they also think that they have good qualities. But this verse says that those who are not devoted to Krishna God, they don't have any good qualities at all. But one who is a devotee of Krishna, I'm talking about an unalloyed devotee here. He has all the good qualities. That means if we just stick to this constant and unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna, all the other qualities will also manifest quickly in the devotee's heart. And that is actually one test also. How much of these qualities are manifesting, by which you can see yourself for your own progress, how fast you are progressing. One is that, first of all, how is that a person who is not a devotee of Krishna, he actually doesn't have any good qualities at all? How can you explain that? Anyone has any answer for that?
Just like if you are not connected to the source, whatever Like if you have lakhs of money and you can't even eat, what is the use? Simply like if you can't connect to the Krishna, whatever good qualities have, there's no use.
Okay, good point. Any other points? Okay, good.
I think these two are synonyms.
Mm.
Equality and Krishna are same.
Okay, yeah. Yes. Okay, any other points? So one example, anyone has? Okay, one example I can give is that in a group of thieves go to some place and they rob, that bank or that institution, and they go away from that with that all the money, and then they sit at some place and they say that now we have robbed this bank. Now let's distribute this wealth among ourselves honestly. Because among the thieves, they may be thinking that this thief has good qualities and this thief has good qualities. Among themselves, they may be thinking they have good qualities. But if they come before the society, the mainstream society, no one thinks that they have good qualities. Because after all, it's based upon the stolen money. The same thing here. The entire property belongs to the God. And then everything belongs to the God. And then they are trying to be honest with each other here. But that honesty has no meaning to the people who are who are in the spiritual world. They are like the people, the realized persons, right? For them, these so-called good qualities of the persons, that has no meaning. So,
Bhagavad Gita clearly states in the chapter of qualities of a demon and devotees, daityas and devatas, right? So when I read that, I'll get scared. Oh my God, so much of demonic qualities I have. Even though I'm kind of a devotee, but how much anarthas we carry, that kind of scary thing. So it clearly states that the person who is following the scriptural injunctions will develop the good qualities. If they don't follow the scriptural injunctions, that means, of course, it's as you said, they have their own concoction and then say, okay, whatever I do, it's all a good quality for myself. But it is not, right? Because it's your own. You're not following the scriptural injunction. That's why Hiranyakashipu, in spite of having so much power, we had everything inside, right? But still, he was thinking he was right. But of course, he's a demon. Right? But all other qualities he had. Only thing is, he was not following the scriptural injunction because he has his own stuff. And that clearly states that for the Hiranyakashipu. But for us, we have a demonic qualities in our heart which, resemble the same thing. But we are not showing ourselves of the demon, but qualities are sitting in the heart, which is totally anarthas, which we don't even know unless somebody points out, you know what? This is wrong. So that's why Prabhupada's book states that the moment you say that, okay, my goodness, I never realized this. Now the moment you start reading, totally that's the knowledge, what we get from Bhagavad Gita. Right? Then you realize, oh my God, really, even though I'm a devotee, even though I'm so-and-so, but without knowledge, without understanding the scriptural injunctions, still I'm falling on my own, which is better surrender to somebody so that you can follow better.
Okay, good point.
I have a question, but it's a little off. Reading this reminded me of it, but it's the definition of envy as it's used in Krishna consciousness, because in this case it's straightforward. It's the regular meaning of envy.
Okay.
But I noticed in other lectures and other books that the word envy, the English word envy, is used kind of in a broader term. And I was wondering if you could define it a little better. Do you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes envy usually means you want what another person has, but I can't remember some of the examples, but it doesn't quite fit like you want what the other person has. You're using it, it's being used in a different way. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Enviousness means our intolerance for the if someone is unable to tolerate the eminence of others, some other person, that is called enviousness. Our inability to tolerate the eminence of others. Yes. Generally, this enviousness comes, acts among our own set of people whom we associate with. For example, someone could be in New York, he might be making great progress in devotional service, and we may know about him, but we don't become envious of him. But in our own circle, if someone is making very good progress, then we become envious, right? So this envious acts in our own circles. Huh? Yes. That's one thing. The other thing that comes that also acts here is that if someone is if our own, even in devotional service also there are subtle sense gratifications. If someone's subtle sense gratification is hampered by someone else, then also the enviousness acts, because maybe it's not enviousness. We become like we tend to hate that person, really.
That shows the false ego.
Mm-hmm.
That shows the false ego.
Yes, yeah. But if someone is really able to see, if someone is truly a devotee of Krishna, then he cannot be envious of anyone, because every soul is part and parcel of the Supreme. If someone has a tendency to become envious of any living entity, that means he is actually envious of Krishna. That's what it really boils down to, because everything is part and parcel of Krishna. Yes, that is also true. Enviousness matter. Yeah. If we are envious of Krishna, for example, that also shows as enviousness to other people. That's what he is saying.
By that, I think that's hitting on it. So if somebody's envious of like one of Krishna's qualities, is that what you mean? Or that they want it for themselves?
Enviousness means Krishna is the supreme enjoyer.
Right.
And
because of our envy of his one of the 6 attributes, that he's enjoying, why should I not enjoy? Okay, we are then kicked out. Okay, this is not your place of enjoyment. Go to the material world.
Yeah.
So that's where the
envy
sprouts.
I don't understand how you can be envious of Krishna. So.
No, you can be enviousness because Krishna is the supreme controller.
Right.
And we are also because we also have same tendency to be controllers, to be little controllers. And if 2 controllers are put in the same room, they will have difficulty because both of them are trying to control.
It's about letting go and surrender and letting go.
Yeah. So one has to be submissive. One is Krishna's supreme controller, and if we are also trying to be the controllers, then there is a conflict there. So that's
also called envy of Krishna, envious of Krishna.
Of course, yeah.
If the ego, you think your ego can do better than Krishna can in your life or something. Okay. I think that's what I mean, because it didn't quite fit like the way envy is used normally. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there are 2 reasons that actually there is only one reason. One is that we have become we become envious of Krishna. That is, we cannot accept the fact that he is a supreme controller of everything and he is a supreme enjoyer, and I'm just a servant. If we just take that fact, if someone really thinks that he is servant of everyone, then he is liberated. But if he is not liberated, it means he still has this concept of being the controller. And so once you have the tendency to be a controller of anything, become envious of Krishna, then that means you immediately get attached to matter. You fell down at that point, and then you'll end up here in this material world.
Coming back to the same point, that if we have good qualities, but if we are not a devotee of Krishna, then what's the... So if we are just a devotee of Krishna, so all these good qualities naturally come, that we won't be envious of all the following.
Correct, yes.
Coming back.
Yes, yeah. Just try to focus all your energy on developing the constant and unalloyed devotion. Unalloyed devotion means the devotion that is not mixed with anything else, such as our ulterior motives. So if we cultivate that kind of devotion, then all other good qualities will also develop automatically in due course of time. And we have to, but if you truly love Krishna, then you cannot be envious of anyone, nor you can be hateful of anyone, because you know very well that everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. And if you are just being envious of someone, that means you are really envy of Krishna. Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think, being envious of somebody, you see them as different from yourself, and not that you all have, the connection with Krishna, that you're part and parcel of Krishna. So,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. And also, if we have this tendency to see that, here is my enemy, here is my friend, then also that also means that let me say it in a different word. Who is actually our true friend? Whom we can say that he is actually my true friend? Because we have so many friends, whom we call as friends, and some persons whom we may call our enemies also. But whom can we say that he is actually my true friend?
Well, it has to be someone you can completely trust. Like even if they know all your demons, your secrets, everything. They know all the warts, everything about you, and they still love you, and you love them, and you have mutual trust.
Okay.
And they have your best interest at heart. They're not going to take that and use it against you or something like that. So your best friend is really Krishna, because there are very few, maybe no people that could reach that level.
Okay, you have some.
There's a quote already, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Friend in need is a friend indeed.
Okay, yeah, okay.
One who is with you in downs and ups and downs, everywhere.
But the so-called friend whom we think is actually our good friend, if he is envious of some other person, some totally different person, then that means he has a tendency to become envious. And it's just a matter of time that it can, that mood can change, and then it can be directed towards you. And we see it especially in families also. Some person, two brothers, they are like, they could be getting along each other very well. But at a later point of time, they may become enemies. So this concept of friend and enemy, it's just a matter of time. If anyone has this concept, if one has this tendency to become inimical to any person, any living entity, that means he cannot be our true friend. It's just a matter of time that his mood will change and he becomes our enemy.
Yeah.
That's why we say that Krishna is actually the friend of everyone. And those who are actually self-realized and who are truly devotees of Krishna, they are also our true friends, because they are not inimical to any living entity.
Yeah, and I think in support of what you're saying, if you talk to attorneys or money managers, the first thing, siblings, they could be very loving, but as soon as the inheritance comes out, they said money, with inheritance, it tears families apart.
Yes.
And friends, and it changes your relationship. If one person inherits a lot of money, and maybe the other sibling was disinherited because the parent was displeased with him or something, or one friend all of a sudden gets a lot of money from his parents when they pass away, and so their level of friendship changes because now he's able to take expensive vacations and has totally different friends now. And then the person who, they were friends all from college all the way through, but now because of money, that relationship is very different, right? So I think that's a very determining factor, how strong the relationship is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this we see happening, those events happening very frequently. They happen almost all the time. People fight with each other, brothers fight with each other. I've seen the cases where the children, they fight with their parents, really, the father or inheritance. So no one can be our true friend unless that person is not inimical of any living entity. So that's why Krishna says that I am the true friend of everyone, because he doesn't have that concept, Krishna. We can, I think we can just go through the next verse. We still have a few more minutes. Prabhuji, would you mind reading? No, just read from the projector.
He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety is very dear to me. A few of devotees' qualifications are further being described. No one is put into difficulty, anxiety, fearfulness or dissatisfaction by such a devotee. Since a devotee is kind to everyone, he does not act in such a way as to put others into anxiety. At the same time, if others try to put a devotee into anxiety, he is not disturbed. It's by the grace of the Lord. He is so practiced that he is not disturbed by any outward disturbance. Actually, because the devotee is also engrossed in Krishna consciousness and engaged in devotional service, such material circumstances cannot move him. Generally, a materialistic person becomes very happy when there is something for his sense gratification and his body. But when he sees that others have something for the sense gratification and he hasn't, he is sorry and envious. When he is expecting some retaliation from an enemy, he is in a state of fear, and when he cannot successfully execute something, he becomes dejected. A devotee is always transcendental to all these disturbances, is very dear to Krishna.
Yes, here Krishna is saying that we should not behave in a way, we should not speak in a way or behave in a way that will agitate the minds of others. Even if we have to speak truth, we cannot speak in such a way, we should not speak in such a way that will agitate that other person. It is called, we have to learn that art of speaking. And also, we have to cultivate, again all these qualities will develop in due course of time just by being a true unalloyed, just by sticking to the unalloyed devotional service, they will develop in due course of time. So one of the qualities is that no matter what happens to us, then we don't get agitated. And also we don't do any activities or use any words that will agitate the minds of others. Yeah, yes. And if we have to say some truth, for example, and there is no point in actually saying the truth, it's just going to agitate that person, and there is not really any benefit that is going to come, then better not to speak the truth. Why just say it? If we are going to have some benefit out of it, then we can speak. Otherwise, just stay calm. And then other thing is being equipoised in happiness and distress, and fear and anxiety. This fear is, how can we overcome this fear? We have so many fears.
I think fear and anxiety comes from attachments. So, as you're doing your sadhana, your attachments just naturally fall away. So, and as you're doing your sadhana, your mind gets kind of equanimous, or, calm. So, one way, as you're doing your sadhana, is to intentionally avoid putting yourself in situations where you know your mind will be agitated. So one example would be maybe going to the movies. So you're practicing brahmachari, but then you go to the movie and there's a love scene. So that's an obvious example. But so if you hear maybe if you still are attached to movies, but you avoid certain kinds of movies because you know your own mind. And as you're doing your sadhana, your own insights, your own intuition develops, your discernment towards other people, like you're able to distinguish between, if I say this to this person, he can take it and it will help him. But if I said the same thing to this, like Mataji over here, she might take it the wrong way, or she'd be devastated, or it wouldn't help her sadhana. So you have that discriminating mind, which comes from your sadhana. So, I don't know if I answered the question, but I think trying to avoid, for example, if you know certain people agitate your mind, and you're at a certain level in your sadhana, and maybe at a turning point or a sensitive point in your sadhana, then you maybe intentionally avoid being with certain people that will
those are good points. This is more on avoidance of situations that will put you into a fearful situation.
Right.
Right?
Right. And then the opposite, on the positive side, is being with your guru and more the pure devotions, pure devotees, if you have them around.
Okay.
Especially your spiritual master or more senior devotees.
Okay. And do you have some points, Vishwanath Prabhu?
We are usually fearful because we have something to lose. If we don't have anything to lose, then we are not fearful.
Then we are fearless.
And we have support of Krishna, then we don't have fear.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. To the extent we have faith in Krishna, to that extent we become fearless. So that is one of the that is another characteristics we can judge ourselves, our own progress, how much fearless we are. For example, Prahlad Maharaj, when he was Prahlad Maharaj, when his father was putting him into various tortures, for example, he had to enter fire. He was not fearful at all. He just entered the fire, and then nothing happened to him. Because he had so much faith, we had no fear. So to the extent we have faith in Krishna, to that extent we also develop the fearlessness. And we have this song, right? Bhaja hure mana, he nanda nandana, abhaya charanar vendara. Yeah. So if we develop faith in Krishna, you become fearless. On that account, I think let's end today's lecture, because it's already 8 o'clock and Artik is going to start now. Thank you very much, everyone here, and also we also thank all the devotees who are listening to us online. Now we are going to move to Artik and Kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.